Hello, and welcome to Live Coding Happy Hour. This is the show that shows you how the sausage is made. We take you through we're on a mission to do something, and we're not really sure how we're going to get there, but we know the tools we've got at our disposal, and we're going to show you. And the reason we do this is because there's a lot of thought process and discussion that goes in there. So we're kind of taking you through the process and helping you with the technology to show how it's really done. I like to call this the antithesis of a well-polished demo. This is not scripted. Most of the time, this is not rehearsed. The only preparation we do is hopefully read the API docs before we get here, because that wouldn't make very exciting stuff. Let's get on with our introductions, starting with this man right over here.
Hi, everyone. I am Earl Duque. I am a developer advocate here at ServiceNow on the developer relations team. I'm about to come across my 1-year anniversary here at ServiceNow, but before that, I was with higher ed in a bunch of different university customers doing ServiceNow development. And I'll kick it off to Lauren, this is her first appearance on the Live Coding Happy Hour show. So everyone welcome Lauren as her first time as a developer advocate here on the show.
Thank you, Earl. I appreciate it. Hey, everybody. My name is Lauren McManaman. I just joined the developer advocacy team, which is very exciting. I've been at ServiceNow at the company level for the past 4 years, but doing ServiceNow stuff for around 7. So it's very exciting to kind of get back in the trenches, moving from sales back to kind of the developer life that I was part of as a customer. So I'm really pumped to be here and excited to join my first Live Coding Happy Hour. And I'll kick it off to Dhruv. I put it the right way.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dhruv. I work at Accenture as a technical architect. And 6 years into ServiceNow ecosystem. And I'm a ServiceNow developer MVP and a stockpiler of ServiceNow swags. And on my Ashutosh, over to you, man.
Hey, thanks. I'm Ashutosh Munot. I work at Nationale Nederlanden in Netherlands as a solution architect, and I'm with ServiceNow from last 9 years almost. I'm also a community as well as Dev MVP. Thanks.
Show off.
My name is Chuck Tomasi, Senior Developer Advocate at ServiceNow. I've been here since mid-2010, was a customer for a couple of years before that, and there's a lot of other lines on my resume that go back into the late 70s, early 80s that I won't get into here. That would be a show unto itself. There is a podcast where we discussed some of that recently called Offline with the Radio Brothers. Go check it out. It just released this morning, whatever their July episode was. So shameless plug for that. I'll be putting that on social media as well. But we talked about all kinds of stuff. But before we do our next thing, let's do our next thing, and let's talk about what we're drinking.
All right. So we try to relax on a Friday here on this show. So what I am drinking, I'm back to my usual whiskey instead of beer. This is a Hyde Hyde single malt Irish whiskey, number 7 6-year-old whiskey. So excited to try it. I've never tried it before, so this will be my first sip. Lauren?
So I am really excited for Tokyo, selfishly because I'm also on the path of becoming a sake sommelier. So I picked up one of my newer bottles called Kingoro, which is named after the rather dry demeanor of the founder of the brewing company. So it's a rather dry sake.
He looks like the guy from the movie Up.
He does. He does look like Carl, I think, from Up. So I'm excited to give it a go.
From my side, there are no prizes for guessing. So
Prizes for guessing.
From my side, I think, Chuck, you might have tried this Radler 4.0, a citron flavor. Let's see how it tests.
I drank quite a few of those when I was in Germany for a certain developer meetup a few years ago.
Yeah.
And I am hooked. Those are a great summertime drink. And I have, I think I had something similar, if not the same thing. I'm still working through a pack of Kona Brewing beer. This is the Longboard Island Lager. So it is I think this one's not quite crystal clear. Maybe. And I'm putting this into my Brew Ops glass from Creator. Oh, it is clear. From CreatorCon 19. So with the drinks out of the way, it's over to the main event.
Cheers.
Cheers. Good luck, Ashutosh. We'll be sitting back and watching you flail.
Yeah.
What have you got for us today, buddy?
So today we have an exciting topic, basically triggering a PowerShell, triggering a Python script via PowerShell, and that too from our mid servers.
Well, you know what the first words out of my mouth are going to be. Earl, can you predict what I'm going to ask them?
You need to increase your text size, buddy.
That is correct.
Yeah. Can you see it?
More.
Or
Think of the poor person watching this on their mobile device.
a bigger screen. Is that fine?
I'm going to let the majority rule on this one. That'll do.
Yeah, that's good.
Yep.
I think 150 is usually what we aim for.
Depends on the resolution of your screen, but yeah.
So today what we are going to do is actually trigger a Python script which is stored on a mid server using integration hub capability, and that is PowerShell. So the PowerShell script is used because we don't have Node.js capability to do it using integration hub or an edge ngrid library, because that's an authentication mechanism which we have, which can be used by some integration. So I came up with this idea that I was searching how can we trigger a Python script using ServiceNow, and then one of the solution was by using our mid server and the integration of capability. So there are some prerequisites before we start coding. So we will directly go on to the prerequisites, and that is on the mid server. So we need a mid server which has PowerShell capabilities. That is one important part. When we have that, what we need is to install Python. So basically, we have to download .exe and we need to install the Python. For this demo purpose, I have already installed a Python.
Thank you.
I can show.
Did you have to do? Hold on. Did you have to do anything special to make that mid server work with PowerShell?
No, because this is a lab version mid server which I got from one of the labs.
Okay.
Which I was trying, and
So
it already had that PowerShell capability.
Okay, straight out of the box, is that, if I were to download the mid server onto one of my Windows machines, would that be a given that it's going to have that capability, or
I
do you
believe
think
so.
it was set up from this image?
I believe so, because even in legacy workflow, the orchestration has PowerShell.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I've used mid servers for discovery. I've used them for export sets. I've used them for a number of things, but this is all new territory for me.
Yeah. So PowerShell was by default available, and I think this is 2012 server. Yeah, you can see, and it was there already on this. So I did not
explain what a mid server is.
Sorry.
Did we explain to the viewer what a mid server is? There may be people that are watching this for the first time who have no idea what that means.
So basically, the mid server is nothing but a stepping stone server, which we have within a client's environment, which allows the communication to our ServiceNow instance to the client's environment. So within a VPN, we have this server. It's a Java application which we need to install on a Windows server, on a Linux server, which facilitates the communication between the ServiceNow instance and the client network. So if we have some applications or tools running within a client environment, and if you want to do an integration with them, for example, discovery, event management, service mapping, and this kind of integration, which we will see today. In that case, this server acts as a stepping stone server and a communication channel. One thing which is very important to keep in mind with respect to the mid server is ServiceNow instance never talk with the mid server. It is mid server who talks with the instance and keeps pulling and checking for the job which he needs to do. So most of the times I have seen many people get confused with it. So this is an important point to note on that.
Yeah, the customers always freak out. They go, "What? Am I going to have to poke holes in my firewall?" The answer is no. The mid server initiates the conversations. It checks in with the instance and goes, "Is there any work for me? Is there any work for me? Is there any work for me on port 443?" And if your firewall doesn't have outbound 443, you have other issues.
Yeah, indeed. Then the another prerequisite is we need to do something with respect to Pythons, because Python has its own libraries which are used by Python when we need to do, let's say, a concatenation of a string. If you want to do a REST call, if you want to build a JSON response back from that Python script to our Flow Designer code, we have to install some libraries. So what I'm going to do is first check if Python is installed. And how we are going to do that is basically, let's say I'm going to open a PowerShell like this. I know this is very small, but the resolution of the mid server itself is very small. So please bear with me. I'm going to zoom this a bit. Let's see if this works. No, but I have a script here which says, which first checks if the Python is installed or not. And to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to run this locate Python script. Basically, I can do it in two ways. Either I can do it in the environment which Python gives, or I can also trigger the script using the PowerShell command line within the mid server. If I run it from here, you can already see that I get the path where the Python is installed. And you will see the significance of this when we actually create the spoke, because this is very important when we want to run a Python script from PowerShell, and we will come to that point. Now, the next thing which we need to do is see if do we have a pip. So pip is very important when it comes to Python. We need to see if that is with the latest version or not. And to do that, what we are going to do is simply go here in the PowerShell, and I'm going to type py-m.
Okay, that I can't see.
Yeah, indeed. So this is, like I said, I don't know. It's the resolution. I can change the screen resolution of the mid server, maybe, if I am. Can't be done using
that one window, the PowerShell window, doesn't allow you to do the font at all?
No, I tried that before the demo as well, but no success. Sorry.
You can use IDE. You can use IDE.
Yeah, I was going to wonder if we could put it in an editor and then paste it in here.
Yeah, I'm going to show you what I'm doing basically. So if this works, I have this script. You can already.
It's not much of an upgrade, Ash.
Sorry?
It's not much of an upgrade when you put it that small.
So if I go here and if I do this, upgrade pip, if I do this, you will see that it is checking for the packages. So now it says that there is nothing to be upgraded basically when you get this, because when I was doing few things, it was already upgraded, and I upgraded it because the code won't run without the upgrade. Then the next thing which we need to do is we need to import the libraries which are needed for our code. So let's say, for example, we need to pass arguments from ServiceNow to this Python script. For that, there is a library called as os-sys. So I'm just going to show you this, and that is this one, this library, because this library will then allow you to pass the arguments. How we pass the arguments to PowerShell, it is same way to pass the arguments in Python. So if I paste it, I don't know if I can paste it. So I'm just going to do this.
So Ashutosh, we have a question from Phil. He said, why would I want to...
Oh my gosh, me and Chuck.
Go, just go, Earl. We're hitting the same key at the same time. Like
3 times in a row.
like having 2 light switches in the house and you're both playing with them, right? That's exactly what we were doing. Okay. What's the use case here?
Exactly. So I think I started with it, right? So I got this idea basically when I was doing an integration with a tool called as Akamai. And that tool supports an authentication mechanism which needs edge grid libraries. Okay. And within ServiceNow, we tried many things and the library was not supported. And that's the reason we came up with this solution where we saw that, okay, if we have a Python script and the Python script supports the edge grid library. So what we did was we downloaded the edge grid library on a mid server, we installed Python on it, and then we are doing REST calls from that Python script to that Akamai tool, which allows you to block some IPs and whitelist some IPs. It's same like Zscaler, it's a different tool. So that was the use case.
You're offloading that actual work to the mid server to do the Python work. Is that what I understand?
Exactly. And the second advantage was that the Python script, our DevOps team said, okay, we want to own the Python script. We want to own the major logic, what the script is doing. And using the CI/CD pipeline at their end, they are deploying the script to a particular location on the mid server. And we are pointing there. So there are 2 advantages here, which I just explained.
And that's the best part of ServiceNow. If you will always find a way to do things, and the most secure ones as well.
This is similar to like if you're running a client script and you can't get the work done, you can always farm it off to the server side via Glide Ajax or something. Okay.
Yeah. And we also know that Crypto.js, sometimes it's tricky to do Crypto.js, use Crypto.js library also in ServiceNow. So we have multiple examples. And one more example, if I want to give you, is with respect to Ansible Towers. I know we have integration capabilities like REST, which can trigger that. But in some cases, within financial institutes, it's very sensitive information there. And there is an isolated remote server where all the logic lies. Also for your AD, DNS, some Python scripts, and the team want to own it. They don't want to expose it to ServiceNow because the credentials used by those are also in some safe. I know we can do CyberArk, but we don't use CyberArk. We have some different external credential storage thing. And to accommodate all these use cases, we do it using Python. I hope it was clear.
Yeah. Moreover, you have data analytics thing and penetration testing thing. I use Python and PowerShell for those things. So PowerShell has powers.
Awesome. So you guys might have seen I have just installed one library, os.sys, which will allow me to pass arguments from ServiceNow to these Python scripts. Okay. One more important module which we really need is the request module, because this is kind of hard because it has the JSON part included in it. It has some underlying modules inside it, which will help us to do some array mechanisms, JSON mechanisms. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you how we can do it. Requests. And it shows that we don't have to install anything or upgrade anything because it's already there and it is running in this mid server. That being said, so we are good to go to ServiceNow now because all the prerequisites are done on the mid server. And to test that, I have one demo file, but I want to trigger it from ServiceNow. So I'm not going to do it directly via the server. So to start with, as we are promoting built with a App Engine Studio, I'm going to quickly create one app using App Engine Studio because we are creating a spoke here and we want to promote more App Engine Studio to our audience as well. So, and that's the best practice, right? Whenever you want to create some custom thing, please create a scoped application, and the scope and the spoke should also. So basically, the spoke is nothing but a scope application, which consists of number of actions which you can perform. So we are going to say lchh Python demo. Continue.
While you do this configuration, I think this will be a good time to plug our current Build with AES challenge. So just a little bit ago, I flashed a link. I'll bring that up again. If you go to devlink.sn/buildwithaes, you will be brought to a post that will tell you all the details about a current effort on social media and with AES to showcase the capabilities of AES. And you can get a t-shirt from ServiceNow. So check it out.
And I can tell you, t-shirt looks very good. I got it from Knowledge. So
yeah, you're one of the very few people that were able to get the shirt at Knowledge this past spring. So if you were at CreatorCon and you missed out on the shirt, this is another way to get it.
Great. So we are going to jump into the flow designer thing, and that's so
you are in experience.
Automation, yes. Build from scratch. But I don't want to build the flow immediately yet. So what I'm going to do is first I'm going to go and create the actions, and at the end we will create a flow. And for that reason, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here and say lchh locate my Python path. As I said, the Python path is an essential component which we need to trigger the script. And that is the reason I'm creating this action first, because assume that you have multiple servers within your organization, the path can differ, right? And I want to make this as generic as possible. So people just need to use this action first before triggering any other Python thing within their environment or within their flow. So they can pass the path to the next action. So if I submit this.
As a side note, because of this show, I have like 50 flows and subflows and actions that all start with the letters LCHH.
Mine has like part 1, part 2, part final,
final, part 2. This is the real final, part 3.
This should go in production.
All of mine say DNU, do not use.
Just to tell our listeners, if you want to use PowerShell or anything below, I think, integrations, you need special subscription from Integration Hub. So it's not available out of the box. So please keep that in mind. Okay, an interesting part now. So when we do this, there are a few options we need to select. Right now, I'm just going to define everything inline, and we are not going to use any credentials because right now I'm going to trigger the script on the mid server, and it is going to use the mid server service account.
We all ganged up on Pranav last week because of this.
Yeah, indeed.
And then we got stuck because it didn't work.
Yeah, don't dox your stuff. Don't dox your info.
As we are here, I want to tell you one thing. The service, I have installed this mid server, right? And when we install a mid server, you need to give a logon credentials, and that user should have some special permissions. And what I did is I added that user to a remote desktop group, because if I don't do that, it was not able to initiate it was not allowing me to use the invoke command method, which we are going to use in PowerShell. So just a side note, please keep in mind that you need to give a special right to the logon credential user so that it can invoke the command for you. Okay. Now if you see here, we have to give the host name. What I have done is, so here I have the host name. This one is the mid server's host name. So I'm just going to use that. 8. Oh, sorry.
It's not your fault, man. It's Friday. Should have like
11875.
He's not even drinking yet.
Yeah. I can leave the port blank, but I'm going to just say 443. Auto select mid server. Yes, because I want PowerShell capability and I want to drive this integration via PowerShell. So I'm going to leave it like this. But if you guys have any space, so you can have multiple mid servers which has PowerShell capabilities. And if you really want to use some specific one, please select the this option and then please drag the sysid of that particular mid server here, or you can put it here and return it from here.
And
But practice,
normally, when
but-
you're creating an action, you wouldn't hard code the host in there either. So,
Yeah,
we're taking
indeed.
some liberties for demonstration purposes.
Yes. Mainly, I do it using a properties which are specific to the environments. So I create like a couple of properties, one for prod, one for non-prod. And then in the pre-processing script, I just fetch it by putting a pre-processing script here and then pass everything here.
you should use input and output. Like if you're creating action for selling or for store or someone to use, might not want the default values.
But this is just to locate the path. I'm not doing it, but when we will create a next action, which will actually pass the values to the script, we definitely want to use the input variables, and I will come there soon. In this case, we are going to use remoting type as it is. This is the default value. I don't want to use explicit remoting because we don't have any remote server in place at the moment. Same goes with implicit remoting. I don't want to import any modules on this mid server, and I don't want to run the script on the remote server. So these two options I'm not going to use. I'm just going to run the whole script, the PowerShell script as well as the Python script on the mid server, and that is this. And that is the reason I'm using this option. It's always confusing with these three options when to use what, but yeah, we can have a separate discussion on that later on. Next thing is we are going to use inline script because I have to pass parameters later on to the script. So that is the reason we are going to use inline script. Right now, I'm just going to keep this input variable thing as it is. I'm not going to pass any input variable, but I will start with the script directly, and it is, so I have it at one place. So I'm just going to take a reference quickly out of it to save the time. So basically, I have this. I'm going to explain what parameters are important in this script quickly. So if you see, we are going to use invoke command because that is the way how we can run a PowerShell script on the server. It can be the mid server or the remote mid server. The computer name, this is the parameter I'm passing, and this $computer is actually nothing but a computer name, which is the host. So it will automatically resolve, when the script runs, it will automatically resolve it to the IP of that particular host, which I have mentioned at the top. Then the feature of PowerShell basically, which allows us to pass the path of the script, and that is script block, which can be used to pass also the arguments to the script. It can also be used to pass the whole JSON and the credentials to that particular script. Here I am using this script block. I am quickly going to do this. So if you guys see, this is the path where my Python is actually stored. Now, one thing is here, anyways, we are going to locate that particular path, right? And that is what I was struggling with, that how can I get this without running the Python? For now, I'm just going to.
Why is one argument a path and the other one's a string?
In here?
Yeah.
Yeah. So because that's after doing some investigation in past, this is the way how we need to run the Python script. So basically, what this part will do, the first part will do is it will initiate a Python session in the backend. And once it initiates the Python session, it will go to this particular location on that particular mid server to see if we have a script called as demo file underscore 1.py. And if yes, it will just, so same like this. If I go to the UI here.
Yeah, Earl, the first one is the runtime, and the second one is what the runtime is going to do. Is the script for the runtime. The main reason the first one does not have quotes on is because it didn't have any spaces or other special characters in it. So you could just
you're right. I just noticed that at the very end when you said the file name. I was like, that's a space.
Second one has a space in it, so you got to quote it.
Yeah. And that's
yay, terminal commands, right?
Yeah. And that is what we do basically to store the script anywhere on that particular mid server and then pass arguments. We are going to see that. And I want to take the script name for my from my server. So if I go and take rename, I'm just going to do this. One thing like I said, this should also come from the mid server, and for that we need to do something else, which we need to, which I will be trying later on. Right now, it's very hard to do it because we need to hard code this, but I don't want to hard code this in future. And that is the reason I have left it right now as it is. There is no, I don't have the solution yet for that. But if I do it like this, save this.
Hey, the first save. Everyone take a drink.
Yeah.
Yep.
Little late.
I'm almost done with one can.
So let's test this, if this really works or not. So if I run this, yes, let's see what happens. Running. Great, complete. So at least we have a success.
Hey.
And then
That's
it
good.
gives us the path back. But if you see, this path is the same as I have mentioned in the code, and this has to be automated using PowerShell itself. One thing which is very important to mention, and I faced the issue myself, is when this particular code runs on this machine, in the backend, it does invoke some WinRM operations and some other operations which your security team can find suspicious. So you need to make sure that you convey everything to them before you do this script, because they can then whitelist their commands so that it will go away from that and the monitoring system will not catch it as a suspicious activity.
And
Very
don't
important.
name your files malware.py and stuff like that.
But that's not .exe.
You'll get a termination notice.
Yeah, but the invoke operation does something in the backend, and I have faced the issue, and that's a tip to do that well in advance before you are sacked, let's say. So as we have the location, now let's proceed to see how we can trigger another script which can do a concatenation for us. So basically, let's again go back to this file. I'm just going to show you the code on the mid server. So basically, this is the code which we have, and what it does is it will concatenate these two strings and pass the value to us. Right now, at the end of this particular demo, I'm going to show you how we use it with an integration. I can't show you the Python code because of some sensitive information in there, but I can just show you how it works within the environment and how you can use PowerShell, JSON parser, and automate an integration, but for the later end of the session. So let's see how we can actually, for now, let me just comment this because that is the next part which we are going to see. But first, let's see how we can trigger this and how the output will come to ServiceNow. And again, I'm just going to copy the file name. Very simple. You can pass the input values to this from the, let's say if you have a record producer or if you have a catalog item, you can pass the values dynamically to that script, and we will see that how we can do it. So I think I have the script here already. The only thing changing is this at the back end. Now, when we create so let me first show you this, how it runs and what output it gives. So you will see that it's pretty much same as the first action which we created. And you will get the output as hi, because I'm printing. Oh, wait, I need to copy this.
Yeah,
We should not get this as output. We should get the output as Linux host. So if we go to the end, yeah, save. Great. And if I show you this, so you have Linux hint as the output from the script.
Everything's running too smoothly in this episode.
Yeah. Now let's see how we can actually pass a value dynamically from this action. To do that, first we need to do some modification in the code. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to open this code quickly in the Python code basically. And here what we want to see is this. So basically what happens is whenever we pass an argument, we need to use this library, and that is sys. If you don't use this library, you can't actually parse the argument which we are passing from the from ServiceNow. So it's very important to use this library. And then once you use that library, we can fetch it like this, or we can read the library like this. And let me first print this at the top. And I'm going to show you guys how the output will come now to ServiceNow. Just keep in mind, I have not changed anything here yet. I just want to show you that how this will get print. And for that reason, I'm just going to save. And to pass the arguments to this particular script, what we need to do is we can do it in two ways. First, I'm just going to do this like this. And before the curly braces, we need to give a space, and then you can add, let's say, I'm just going to say LCHH, and I'm going to save this. What this library will do is basically it will just create an array of that particular input arguments, because we can pass multiple arguments. You can also pass a JSON, you can pass array, and this will be, if you pass a JSON, then this will print as array, and within that array it will be a JSON object. We will see that now how it looks. So test run. I hope this runs. Yeah, great. So if you see this, yeah. So we got,
nice.
This is the print from the end, and this is the argument list, which is an array, like I said. So if I pass, okay, one more thing. When we use that sys library, the first parameter, the 0 counter, is always the script name, and you can't change it. And from counter 1, you will have all your parameters which you are passing.
This is why testing and printing your logs before you do anything serious is helpful.
Yeah. And you can see it has created an array, a comma separated list inside that array, which can be parsed using a for loop within the Python script. And then it can be used. I think I have something which I can show at the end. Okay, let's now see how we can actually use this value here and how we can concatenate it. I can do a simple thing, and I can just add string 3. here, and I can just say sys dot argv. I'm not sure if it is like this often, or I can quickly.
Yeah, that's how Python's arrays work.
Let's
Sorry?
give it a try. It should be in. Let's give it a
think
try.
so.
Let's save this and run it.
Yes, and I'm just going to say this like string 3. Okay, and then go here, run.
So why does it take time? Like if it's showing
Yeah,
the
it
flow has
works.
completed.
No, it was in progress, and then it moved to completed, because on the mid server it takes some time to process the code. Like I said, it invokes the process on the mid server,
Mhm.
then it runs the code, and then it gives output back to this particular execution.
The processing of ECCQ that happens
Yes.
when there is a.
Yes.
Oh, there you go. That's exactly it, the ECCQ.
So here you can see it did work. So we got LCSH back, right? Now let's make it dynamic. So to do that, what I'm going to do is simply add one parameter here. Let's say demo for now. And I'm going to go to the input parameters. Let's close create input. In this case, let's say I'm going to pass name. Yeah. And once I have that, when I need to go back to the PowerShell and map this demo with the name. So I'm just going to drag and drop. Now here is the interesting part, which I think I should zoom in a bit. Now I am going to use some PowerShell here. So I'm going to use first define a variable, let's say name, and then equal to, just to tell our audience, there is a way how you can actually access this variable here, because and that is defined by ServiceNow, and it is like $env colon snc underscore demo. So this is a way how you actually initialize this variable with this value. And
Nice. I did not know that.
I'm hoping that's documented somewhere.
yeah, it is documented. If you go to this link, it's documented there. So they say, if I can show quickly, it's very small, but yeah, it's documented definitely. And if I show you, yeah, it's here. You see this $env colon underscore. So this is constant, and after underscore, everything is not constant. So you can just use your variable names there, and it is documented here. Great. But now, how can we use it in this code? And that is by, again, another PowerShell capability, that is $using colon name. So what this will do is basically it will just take the value associated with the variable at the beginning, which we have defined here. And the using is a reserved keyword by PowerShell, which helps us to basically get the value from name and put it in this execution code.
Why wouldn't you just drop in the data pill in quotes?
This one, like this, or
I think
Right
press
into the command section,
open the right pane.
the
Yeah.
data panel there.
Yeah, and just drop name into the command.
Yeah, you got invoke
Oh.
command, blah 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 blah. Go to the end where you put in using name.
Yeah, I can, but I think it's not possible. I tried it, but it does not end.
Where you have dollar using.
I think I need to go it like this. Yeah, and if you see, I can't even do it because It does not support the data pill thing at the end. I can show.
Here's your answer.
Yeah, if I show it, because when we see here, there is nothing to do that. This icon is not here, the data picker.
Here's
This
your
is
clue why
pure.
it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Okay, no, very educational. I'm learning all kinds of stuff. I don't
Yeah.
do PowerShell very often at all.
Submit that into the idea portal.
So
There may be a technical reason why.
It uses the environment variable, so it stores the instance of your script. It will take the instance of your script to the server, and then put your variables in its environment variables, and then use it instead of passing on from the
yeah,
script.
yeah, and I think PowerShell is very strict with its format,
Exactly.
and the way how we use this data pillar in the backend, the mapping is it generates its own ID, let's say a specific ID, right, for that mapping, and that can't be used.
And when you look into the ECC queue, how ServiceNow this thing works, it converts into the format which will PowerShell will understand, and that is stored instead of just passing on the script directly to server.
Yep. So let's see if this works. What I'm going to do is test again. Chuck,
What?
what?
I'm here.
Chuck that wobbly
Yeah.
out.
Still awake.
So let's see. The execution is complete and it does work. See? So Linux hint Chuck. So it did pass the parameters properly by using that particular library, which is sys, and by using the PowerShell command like this, which I just showed. Now, the advantage of doing this is, like I said, I got this idea to block an IP address in a particular tool. And what we do is usually there are multiple IPs, right? So we just create an array and pass it to this script, and the rest of the thing is handled by the Python code, which is again managed by the other team. One thing I can show at the end is, because we are approaching the end, one thing I really want to show is how we did it. And I will just invoke one script from the same action, basically. And that is also stored here.
You pre-baked one like on the baking show? This is what the cake is going to look like when you're all done?
Yes.
The idea was to showcase how to pass parameters. It was a training lesson.
Yeah.
So much for the well-polished demo line I use.
And here inside the name, so let's say save and input. Now this time I'm just going to give an IP address like this. Run the code. Fingers crossed. Let's see if it works.
How much we have to pay for, like, if you want that kind of IP address?
I don't know. So yeah, it did work, and I got, so my IP is blocked. Sorry, I can't show this quickly. I have closed it immediately. But yes, this code does work, and it has done something for me in the backend. And this is how we are using it, and this is how I learned basically to trigger a Python script from PowerShell using ServiceNow. One last thing to end with is, so we created two actions. So basically the Python script right now consists of two actions. First, to locate the location. Second, to run the script by passing the parameters to this Python script. Like at the beginning, we started with App Engine Studio. I can create a flow which can be triggered. It can be a subflow, or it can be a flow which can be triggered by any operations within ServiceNow. We are doing a subflow because we need to pass an extra parameter to this particular script. I used subflow, and it was on a different process. It was not dependent on a record producer and a catalog item, and that is the reason we use subflow. So using the subflow, you can pass the values to these actions and then the whole flow is done. And of course, once you get a JSON output back, you can use JSON parser here to see if your code was successful. And last but not the least, error handlers, very important, because if PowerShell encountered an error, I want a notification saying that the integration or this particular action has failed. That being said, Earl or Chuck, over to you.
Nice. Don't forget to hit snooze in about 10 seconds. But anyways, we had a question from the audience. It's Python, so life in Python is using a lot of libraries. And someone asked, could we install any library, or are there any restrictions?
There are restrictions which your mid server follows. So let's say if your mid server does not allow you to install libraries from PY, I think there was a site, and I can quickly show the audience which was the site which they need to whitelist basically. And that is, give me a minute. Yeah, PY. Let me open it. I'm just going to come to this screen. Yeah. So what I did is I whitelisted the connection on the mid server to reach to this particular domain or this particular URL so that I can download the package without any issues. So the firewall and the proxy on your server should allow the connection to this. If it is blocked, you need to open it and then download the libraries. My suggestion is don't copy paste the libraries from your machine to the mid server. It is not going to work because it has many libraries or sub libraries, I would say. For example, the request module, it has many libraries attached to it. So it's always better to install the libraries on the machine rather than copy pasting it from another machine.
And libraries have interdependency. So if some library is calling some other library, then you need to install that as well. So it's always better to install. It will automatically install the prerequisites. And one more thing, like if you are whitelisting this site, so be sure that control for this is in hands of some users, because you can find some of the projects that are very harmful, like crashing your whole environment, breaking whole environment in one click. So if someone is unhappy with you, he can literally destroy your environment.
Yeah, like I said right at the beginning, we need to talk to the security team, get the operation whitelisted, because the monitoring teams within the organizations are very smart and they will catch you when you invoke these kind of commands, and they will
They
contact
should
you.
catch you.
That's a
They
good thing.
I can see this easily being extendable. Pretty much everything you built, except the Python scripts, which you already had available, you could do the same stack of technology to take that Python action and invoke instead of a Python script, where you had C : app data, whatever, down to the python.exe, then you call the script. That could easily have changed to a Perl script or any other executable, because the Python, or excuse me, the PowerShell command is going to launch a command on the mid server. So whatever that happens to be could be very flexible. It's just like detaching and reattaching the right executable and right script into that last piece.
True, but I tried also with Node.js. So instead of Python, it was Node.js. So I wanted to do it initially with Node.js because that is more friendly and it was allowed. I did not have to do any whitelisting, but that didn't work. So from ServiceNow using PowerShell, invoke your Node.js environment and then run the script, it didn't work. And then we moved to Python. So that is also one interesting. Maybe I was.
Maybe the versioning thing. I have tried Node.js, it works.
But with this, it was very difficult to run the script, and it was not invoking the environment for Node.js. It was not initializing the Node.js server, and it was not triggering our REST call. Maybe something was missing, but yes, Chuck, we can ideally trigger other types of scripts using this.
I was literally hovering over the button pushing down on the. I pushed down on the button and then you clicked it.
It was like, what just happened?
Wow, they incorporated some telepathic stuff in this. That's awesome. All right, good job. Hey, that's a glaring success. So everyone finish your drinks. I'm just kidding. Don't do that. It'll be real hard.
Too late.
I wouldn't be able to drive.
Sweet.
Let's go around and rate them then. Thank you, Ashutosh. Earl,
Thanks.
what's
That's
your?
cool. I mean, it's PowerShell and scripting, right? Like, if you can't figure out how to do it inside ServiceNow, a
Yep.
PowerShell script through mid server is basically going to do literally anything else that you need to do.
Or you may have some legacy, script, PowerShell script or Perl script, like we said, that needs to be run and feed that information back. And somebody's gonna say, "Hey, can we get this into ServiceNow?" Now you've got a clue as to where to start and go. Yeah, I think we can.
I think for my drink, so I had the Hyde single malt Irish whiskey number 7 6-year-old. It's good. I would probably give it a 4. Not as good as the one I tried a month ago or something. It's still pretty. It's still pretty solid. Yeah, pretty good. Lauren.
I don't usually like dry sake. I really liked this Kingoro brand sake. So I give it definitely a 4 or 5 out of 5. Unrelated to alcohol, I wanted to give a quick little, so Chuck's bow tie reminded me of this. So obviously navy blue being part of the new ServiceNow brand is pretty easy to find, but that green is oftentimes very elusive. Just want to let especially all the women out there know, Aloe Yoga of all things just did a new drop of an entirely new color called Ultra Mint that looks eerily similar to ServiceNow green. So if you want some things for upcoming conferences, that's a good place to look.
Often a lime green, or as I discovered, apple green is a dimmer version, but also works. We are way off track, but that's all right.
So
Friday afternoon.
How to let people know? I was like, oh, it's limited edition. I gotta let people know.
What did you learn out of Live Coding Happy Hour? Ultra Mint.
Ultra Mint.
Dhruv.
5, man, no doubt about that.
Earl, we're gonna have to come up with a static graphic for that guy.
I know, right?
And the man of the hour, Ashutosh.
The Radler is great.
Out of
5
5.
out of 5.
5 for 5. Very nice.
Yes.
I'm going to give the Kona Brewing Longboard Island Lager. I keep forgetting what the subtitle is. This is a good easy down beer. I give it a solid 4. Nothing spectacular, but washes down the pizza really good.
Yeah.
That was lunch. So with that, again, thank you, Ashutosh and Dhruv, for joining us.
Yeah.
Thank you, Earl and Lauren, for the commentary and watching the comments and posting the right ones up there. We had a lively discussion. So if you didn't get a chance to join us here, watch our channel, like and subscribe. Do that. We do live coding happy hours at 4:30 Eastern time on Fridays. We're going into our Tokyo season, so it's going to be, I'm not going to say hit and miss. It's scheduled. If you go to devlink.sn, you can see that full schedule. When is there a live coding happy hour? When is there a creator toolbox? When am I expecting podcasts? And what are the topics on that? We've got it broken down by topic. We've got it broken down by calendar. You can't miss. That is your link you want to check out. But if you just happen to be around on a Friday afternoon or something and you weren't checking the schedule, you didn't block off your calendar, bing, turn on those notifications and subscribe. So I know there's a lot of people that are watchers that don't subscribe. Not sure why. If you're interested in this material, it's a good idea. And then you don't miss anything. So did I miss any other special announcements, Earl? Tech Now coming up August 4th. Thank you. It's like glance, cue, done. August 4th, 8 a.m. Go over to devlink.sn/technow. Episode 94 is going to spotlight all of our Tokyo platform, app engine, and automation engine features specifically around developers and what you can build. We're putting tools in your toolbox. This is sort of the table of contents for the rest of August, September, October, well into November. All these things we're going to be covering. Lots of great content there. I look forward to seeing you there. devlink.sn/technow is where you can get that information. And as always, there's always more podcasts and more videos and more blogs coming out. Keep track of that on social media as well. So with that, I thank everybody for joining us. Much appreciated. Hope to see you on the next one if you missed it this time. And everybody take care. Be safe. Till next time. Can we start with sayonara?
Happy weekend.